G'day there guys, Chihuahuas are good pets and I won't be told otherwise. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for another good episode. Thank you. Posted by user 0587 Throwaway. Titled, Would I be the a-hole for reporting a coworker to HR for trying to feed me? So I, 24 male, am a small man. I'm 5'4" and 103 pounds as of my last physical. I'm well aware that I'm at an unhealthy weight. My entire life I've been small, mostly due to illnesses and a myriad of allergies, and it's admittedly a sore spot. I'm working with my doctor to gain weight while still fitting in with my dietary restrictions. No meat, dairy, gluten, or nuts, and honestly, I'm so much better than I was several months ago, and proud of myself for the progress I've made. A coworker, who we'll call Peg, 30 female, got pregnant and recently returned to work late November. She's been increasingly overt and uncomfortable in her concern for me. Peg made and brought in cupcakes for her return, and when I thanked her for thinking of us but refused, citing my gluten allergy, she was visibly upset. She didn't shout or complain much, just sighed heavily and said that she would put this one in the break room with the rest. I felt awful. Then, she brought me a steak sandwich the next day on gluten-free bread. Again, I thanked her, but I'd brought in my own lunch and needed to focus on that. Peg told me it was in the fridge for when I finished. Ended up bringing it home so she wouldn't feel bad and gave it to my boyfriend. Next day, she approached again. I refused again. She insisted. By now we weren't alone in the break room. She joked that it was rude to refuse a home-cooked meal in favor of that, my lunch. At that point, I just took it and thanked her. Boyfriend ended up eating it. Then she just started leaving bagged snacks on my desk. She would approach with a snack or portion of whatever she made for dinner the night before and not leave me be until I had taken it. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. So I've been taking notes since then, like what days Peg has given what, when, who witnessed it, etc. From 12/8 to now, she's done it 23 times. Yesterday, I took Peg aside and explained that while I was touched, I would appreciate if she wouldn't bring in anything else. She said that I should have said something sooner. She was only trying to help, and have I seen myself in a mirror? Does your boyfriend like you starving yourself? Among other phrases. Livid, I told her that maybe I didn't feel like sharing my personal medical history with her just so that my wishes were respected. For God's sake, we work with a hospital. Don't you know anything about HIPAA? We parted from there, me childishly storming off and her in tears. Have I already been a huge ass, and would a report to HR be just the icing on the ass cake? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. Well, for starters, she's probably emotional from having her child and worried about me. I also left the poor woman in tears and threw her consideration in her face. My boss clearly didn't see an issue with the behavior and actively discouraged me making a scene over it. And edit, to address a few commonly raised points, I said no thank you repeatedly to her face when she gave the food. She in turn would refuse to leave my desk or stop talking to me in the break room or halls until I took it. She returned to work late November, before Thanksgiving, and started this behavior almost immediately. I waited until the 8th of December to speak with our boss, who is a woman, if that matters, and only then started counting the incidents. She's also no longer pregnant. Rather, I should have said that she's returned for maternity leave. Edit 2, I'm aware I misused HIPAA, but was referencing it in the context that she should know better than to pry into medical history to satisfy her curiosity. And also, I wasn't thinking clearly when I said that to her. I think at the end of the day, she really just needs to mind her own business and let you eat whatever you want to eat. Not everyone needs saving, and not everyone's suffering just because you think they are. Sure, OP may be a bit slender for her height on average, but that's neither here nor there for anyone but themselves. The pregnancy hormone and maternity instinct thing is a complete cop-out. This was repeated and targeted attacks on OP from start to finish. This woman doing this to OP is sick in the head and cares more about whatever agenda she's pushing than the welfare of OP, as I would think she's doing more harm than good. You're not and wouldn't be the a-hole if you report her to HR for constantly trying to feed you, as at this point, it's well past harassment in my eyes. Do it, I say. Now in the comments, Trainier86 says, not the a-hole. Even if she stops now, you can tell HR that you had a discussion with her and you do not require action at this moment, but you want to put this on record. Consider this. What if she complains to HR about a hostile work environment? Make sure your side of the story is on record somewhere. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. Can I just say that this boss is a huge asshat? Your coworker is clueless and annoying, but your boss should have taken action here. They just didn't want to deal with it, so your complaint wasn't properly addressed. She's the biggest a-hole in all of this. Right? Not to mention that OP has various food allergies. While some people might think, oh, well, I just won't put XYZ into it, there's so many aspects of the cooking process that could have any of those allergens in the process of production. The oil may have been made somewhere that processes nuts. Oats may be processed in a facility where they process wheat. Maybe that dish wasn't washed thoroughly before she used it. It's a hard thing for someone with an allergy to be able to trust a person to make a food that won't give them a reaction, mild or severe. She might mean well, but what happens if there's an accident and you end up sick or worse from it? It's very unfortunate, but OP isn't just doing it for frivolous reasons, and their boss, coworker, and HR should respect that. Not the a-hole, but hear me out. I think you should bring this up to HR primarily to report how your boss handled, or in this case, did not handle the issue. You can say that you think you and your coworker have resolved the situation and hope there will be no further incidents to report, but that you want to provide the documented evidence just in case, as well as express your frustration that you were essentially told your discomfort did not matter because the offending party is pregnant. And now on to the update. I went to HR saying that the matter was settled, but I wanted it documented. Subsequently was told that there would be an investigation and the incidents would be corroborated with witnesses because, as is the full record, I claim is severe enough to warrant potential action for Peg and several other co-workers who also engaged in her behavior. HR started the process, apparently immediately, because I walked in yesterday to a crap storm. This plunged the department into civil war. Many agree Peg was out of line. Some told me I should have kept the status quo. Some said I was ungrateful and entitled. One said I should have handled this maturely, and who could blame her when I look like that? And I should be ashamed of myself. Another coworker suggested I work from home. Another told me he was sorry for not stepping in. I went to go get my lunch out of the fridge, only to find someone had disposed of it and left behind empty Tupperware. Nearly everyone has an opinion. The people in my corner have advised me to keep my head down and to take care. My boss held a meeting, first with Peg and me, and then a second just me. During the one with Peg, I was told to apologize for my part, and Peg likewise. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable by caring about your health, yada yada yada. Then my boss asked if I was satisfied now. I brought up Peg's comments, and my boss said that I invited them. No one would call that harassment, and I need to work on myself. Together, we went through each of the 23 events. She excused each of them until I was left feeling that I'd been harassing Peg. The next meeting was even worse. Effectively, boss said, I told you not to retaliate, and instead, you searched Peg out to harass her. And your actions have expressed a worrying lack of cooperation with me and your team. She was also disappointed that instead of explaining that I needed her to resolve things, I escalated the situation well beyond the point of reason, and cruel to someone who only wanted to help. She said I won't get far in life and I'm not likely to get anywhere vocationally if I can't be a team player and actively sabotage a happy workplace. She hoped I will learn from this teachable moment how to behave in a collaborative environment, as it's inappropriate to involve HR for small misunderstandings. My boyfriend is spitting mad. I'm just tired, confused, and hurt. HR seems sympathetic. Boss is very clearly on Peg's side. The office is split and tense, currently updating my resume and job searching. It really does feel like a nightmare. Haven't felt good going to work for a while, and this just made it times worse. Now in the comments, Therese Agis says, "Go see an employment attorney. They are creating a hostile workplace, and put out your resume. This place is toxic." This is 100% a case of discrimination, and any competent lawyer would be able to connect the dots and point them directly at hostile workplace. Peggy specifically persisted because of how OP looked. Can you blame her when you look like that? And OP looks skinny specifically because of a medical issue. This has an ADA claim written all over it. Not to mention, OP spoke with HR in confidence about a harassment issue, and the boss's response was to flat out threaten his career. OP works in a hospital. I 1000% guarantee that there's anti-retaliation rules, whistleblower protections, and who knows what else written into the employee handbook. The boss and every coworker giving him attitude, not to mention throwing out his lunch, are breaking this and creating a hostile workplace. Peg's apology wasn't an apology. Your boss is clearly not on your side here, and I would be wary that your boss may suddenly find things wrong with your work. You can either get a lawyer and pursue this, but the workplace environment will only get worse, or you can just live with her giving you the food and throw it out after she walks away. Sorry you have to deal with this. Both options seem bad. Also, if this only started when Peg got back from her pregnancy leave, there's a decent chance that this is relating to some postpartum issues that Peg has. Not that it's fair that you have to deal with it, but it may go away on its own as she gets through that. Stop making excuses for Peg. There is no excuse for trying to make someone eat something they're allergic to. And it doesn't matter what the intent of the person doing the harassing is, the result is that the victim is being harassed and the boss is doubling down on victim blaming due to their appearance. You're not wrong, but as a woman, it's frustrating to constantly hear this type of excusing of abuse, in any form, especially when the excuse is tied into traditional gender roles. He has so much promise. She just had a baby. Although these things may be true, it doesn't matter to the person whose life is currently being affected by the harasser's actions. Our next post is by user AirMattressAhole, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not reimbursing my brother for an air mattress?" This happened around Thanksgiving, but I'm still getting crap about it from my family. So I'm a 27-year-old woman who lives in a one-bedroom apartment by myself. My brother, 24, and his significant other, 22, have lived on the opposite side of the country, US, for a few years and decided to fly over to see their respective families, both of whom live around the same area. Neither my brother nor his girlfriend felt comfortable staying with their parents due to the pandemic, so I offered them my apartment while I stayed with my significant other for the week. Everyone was happy with this arrangement. We never talked about it specifically before they arrived, so I just assumed they would sleep in my queen-sized bed. I have a couple of couches in the living area, and while they're comfortable enough, they aren't designed to be sofa beds. The morning they arrived, I cleaned the apartment and changed the bedding. When they got to my apartment, my brother asked where they should sleep, and I indicated the bed. He sort of laughed at first and then realized I was serious and got really angry. His girlfriend didn't say much but looked mortified. My brother kept saying that there was no way they were sleeping in my bed, and it was disgusting for me to offer. I told him that everything was clean and reminded him that they'd have the apartment to themselves. He just kept saying he couldn't believe it, and finally snapped that they'd have to make do with the couch. I left quickly without further discussion because I was confused and pretty upset. That night, my brother called me and said the couches were impossible to sleep on. He said that he and his girlfriend needed to purchase an air mattress and requested that I reimburse him the $55 they paid for it. By now, I was really pissed off and refused. I asked him again why they didn't just take the bed, and he said that if I really had to ask, then I had major issues. I said that I didn't care what they did or did not do in the bed. We're all adults and should act accordingly. He called me disgusting again and hung up. My parents found out and agreed that I should pay for the air mattress because I wasn't adequately prepared for their arrival. My mother especially keeps insinuating that what I did was gross and unfair and I should have known better. My brother has let it be known that our relationship won't go back to normal until I apologize and reimburse him and his girlfriend. I know my family can be kinda weird and uptight, so I asked my significant other and some friends for their perspective. My boyfriend says he can see both sides, and my friends are basically siding with my parents and brother, saying that it would be inappropriate for me to sleep in the same bed that my brother and his girlfriend previously shared. Edit. A lot of people are asking if we belong to some weird culture where siblings aren't allowed to share beds. We do not, and my family has never been religious anyway. But as I stated in my post, they are really uptight. Like, we learned about the birds and bees, but sex was always presented as something unpleasant and nasty. My brother and I never discuss each other's sexuality and sexual lives, which in my opinion is normal, but it's pretty clear he has some major hang-ups. My boyfriend is a lot more open about sex, but he's also very attuned to when people feel uncomfortable, and says that even though he disagrees with their reasoning, he can understand why they might not want to sleep in my bed. He thinks I should just pay the $55 to keep the peace. My friends? No idea, lol. I don't know what those family and friends are smoking, but damn, I think we all need a hit of that loony juice to cross into whatever dimension they've slipped into. Perhaps it's some weird form of Christian guilt that's non-religious but brings this air of shame around sex that your brother just cannot seem to come to grips with. The mere thought that you've had sex in this bed is enough for him to charge you money for his mere presence in your own household. I'm with you on what the hell your friend's thinking, but your parents, we can probably just put that down to them being biased towards your brother and probably not wanting to get involved in this situation. But your friends, man, your friends siding with him? It's just so weird to me. I'm lost, but I know for a fact, to me at least, that with what you've told me, you're not the a-hole here. Now in the comments, Department Outrageous says, 100% not the a-hole. Have they ever slept in a hotel? Because I guarantee that bed is a hell of a lot more gross than yours. No, see, it's okay if strangers have boinked in the bed they're sleeping in, but if it's his sister, then that's practically incest. I was thinking that they wanted to be able to have sex in the bed that they'd be using. I'd have no problem sleeping in my sister's bed, but I'd never even consider having sex on it. I know, this is so weird. Are they that hung up about sex? Like, they can't have sex in OP's bed? There's a good solution for that. Don't have sex in OP's bed if you're weird about it. I don't even understand. OP changed the sheets. Is he weirded out because she's probably had sex in her own bed? If they have sex on the air mattress, what do they think happens the next time a guest stays on the air bed? What do they think happens in hotels? Is it just because she's his sister? Or is he worried about sleeping in a bed that anyone else has had sex in? I'm so confused, and this is a pretty severe reversion that her parents apparently think it's normal. Most grown adults know that beds are places people have sex, and unless someone is actively having sex in it at the time, don't care, and just go on with our lives. Not the a-hole. NH Foodie says, not the a-hole. That's absolutely mad. Has your prima donna brother and his prissy significant other ever slept in a hotel? Well, congrats then. Your apartment is likely cleaner than that. What does he think? You host orgies and pissing contests on your bed? Your family is for sure uptight. This is wild, lol. Also, OP was doing them a huge favor by not only letting them stay with her, but letting them stay at her place without her. That's incredibly generous and put her out quite a bit. But then they decide it's not good enough and she should have bought extra stuff to accommodate their creepy squeamishness with the situation they agreed to that benefits them? She was already doing them a massive favor, so for them to insist that she does them even more favors, like buying them a completely unnecessary air mattress, is bonkers entitled. Not the a-hole, and please go no contact for a while. And now on to the update. So I have an update for y'all. Good news and bad, insane news. Good news first. My and my brother's relationship is back to normal, or as normal as possible for our family. It's well understood that I'm not going to pay him for the mattress. I also showed him everyone's responses, and he conceded that he may have overreacted about this, which is as close as I'm getting to an apology. He also said that it's a classic example of a Reddit circle jerk, but I'll take what I can get. Insane news. The reason I posted on Am I the A-hole to begin with was because I was so taken aback by one of my friend's reactions. Let's call her Claire. She went to middle and high school with me and my brother, although they aren't close. Claire seemed so completely adamant that offering my bed was inappropriate that I thought I might be in the wrong. We haven't spoken since I mentioned the situation to her, and I didn't think anything of it until my phone started blowing up this past weekend. Long story short, Claire texted some mutual friends, my parents and my boss, who she doesn't know at all, that she believes me and my brother are having an improper relationship. To be clear, this is wildly out of character, and I have reason to believe she's undergoing some sort of mental health crisis. Thankfully, my brother and family are being very supportive. So are my other friends and boyfriend. My boss not so much, and I'm dreading my upcoming performance review. Happy New Year, everyone! Now down to the comments, Double Stitch says, "Woo! Might need to take out a restraining order on Claire. Bizarre. Thank you very much for the update. Best wishes moving forward. Here is hoping that settles down. A second update will be welcome." Holy cannoli, that's wild that Claire literally turned a simple, "Hey guys, here's my apartment/room for you to use," to, "Hey, that's some good old-fashioned incest right there." Like what? I just can't wrap my head around that whole situation. I also can't believe your boss is going along with it. Hopefully you can explain the situation to them and they can overlook Claire's baseless and clearly false claims. The boss is probably not going to go along with it so much as taking a, "Your friends crossed the line by contacting me and you will pay for it." You can ruin people's careers by going to their boss for this reason. And OP replies, "Yeah, that's the line of thinking here. Claire went out of her way to contact my boss. She must have found out through my LinkedIn, and the contents of the letter were pretty explicit and unhinged. I doubt my boss believes her, but she's asked me about my association with Claire and what else this person might know about my job or about any other colleagues. I won't be pressing charges against Claire. Her parents have let me know she's now currently under psychiatric observation. They're actually being incredibly supportive and have said they'll work with her doctors to inform my workplace. Thank you so much for being understanding regarding Claire's behavior. I've had 2 psychoses myself. Both times I made like a 1,000 plus insane tweets, Facebook posts, and Instagram video rants that were all delusional and hateful toward people that I hadn't spoken to in years, as well as being really horrible to close friends and family. They could have easily sued me for libel or slander for the video rants, but they didn't. Because of that, I'm now able to lead a stable life without any of my old insanity hanging over me. I regret terribly the things I said, and I appreciate everyone that understood I wasn't in the right mind when I said those things. And Miss Been Online Too Long says, "Oh my goodness, I did not see that coming. Why did your boss take that call? How very odd. Well, good luck. I'm sure you've got it under control, and this could well be the first time a printout from Am I the A-hole was pertinent in a performance review. Happy New Year." Alright guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you need a good laugh, please do check out my second channel, Markee 2, links down in the description below, or it's going to appear somewhere on the screen here at the end, little bubble with my face on it. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon and channel members. Your faces are surrounding me right now, and I love to have you guys with me, and down in the comment sections of each and every video, and just knowing that you're always there to support me. It's a humbling and lovely feeling. And rest assured, I do see you, and I do notice your support, and I thank you every day for being here and helping me along this journey. Not much else to say besides that, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do hope that you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again. Bye.